Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. Happy New Year, I should say. We are in 2024, and the season is restarting from the halfway point, roughly. There's 13 tracks this season, and we are at round 6 now, so we might as well call it the halfway break was the festive period. Anyway, I hope, and we hope at WOR, you had a great time off of those 2 weeks, but I am joined by the incredible Joseph for the Singapore Grand Prix, which has had some changes to it from what we remember, and we haven't had it on the calendar since season 13, where PlayStation side of things, it was a PSR Wilson that took victory, and TF Rudy as a reserve driver took on the PlayStation side before we had crossplay. Anyway, Joseph, I welcomed you and then cut myself off and continue talking, so welcome along, and it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. Happy New Year to you. Of course, new layout to celebrate the new year of racing here in WOR. And I'll tell you what, it's been a brilliant season so far. Kai Pearson getting away out in front. But I still think that with the break in the middle of the season, that I still think that people behind could still pose a threat.
Yeah, let's have a look at the Austin Grand Prix. I think it was the Austin one last time out, and it was Kai Pearson that took victory from Enzo by a second, and Murphy was up there as well. And interesting, he was this one. It was Austin. It was a very interesting race. Lots of action-packed and very similar to Las Vegas as well. Both very action-packed races. Volakongan on both was quite feisty, wasn't he? And it's looking close. Kai Pearson hasn't run away with it in every race, but he's looking strong, and he's kind of reminiscent of just the steady driver with pace as well.
Yeah, Kai needed to bounce back. I mean, 3 races without a win at that point, I say, sounded a little bit poor by his standards. But I tell you what, it was a great little fight between him and Enzo. He eventually got away, of course, by over a second, as you can see there on the race results. But Joe Murphy in for his first Tier 1 podium. Quantum in P4 as well. That was his best result of the season. There'll be drivers that, if they cast their minds back to that race, will be thinking pretty highly of themselves tonight. But back on another street circuit, it was nice to have a break in Kota from the run of street events in rounds 3 and 4, but back in round 6 again, completely different challenge tonight.
Let's have a quick look at the standings as well. Kai Pearson, like we've quite what you mentioned after USA, is sitting pretty at 83 points. Louis Valentin on 46, and Enzo rounding out the top 3 there on 42. The McLaren boys doing incredible there, 3rd and 4th place respectively, but obviously it's more of a solo one here in WR Crossplay Tier 1, where World is more of the team aspect of it. But before I suppose let's go over to the race qualifying. We are a little bit later than usual, but we are back on it now, as we've just going through the last part of the sector, and Cameron is going to be the first guy to set a lap time, and there's a lot of expectation, I guess, around this one, Joseph.
There is a lot of discourse around him because he is the Tier 2 championship leader. He leads it by an astonishing 43 points. He took 3 straight victories at the start of the season. He won around here in PSGL PS F1, where they raced in Singapore just before Christmas by 10 seconds. It's by far his favourite track, and one that he is certainly going to prosper at when it comes to making a first full start here in WOR's Crossplay Tier 1. Already showing, being the first car out of the circuit, how eager he is to get on with it, taking a break from his usual Tier 2 duties tonight. He can afford to, because of that lead that I mentioned he had in the championship. He's got his dad in the live chat. Welcome to the Tier 1 stream, by the way. I'm sure you've been used to the earlier start time of 7 o'clock for the majority of the season so far. We're sorry to have kept you waiting, but this is a great lap so far, a 103.0 in the middle sector.
He's using, and there's not much extra parts of the track here at Singapore, but he's using everything to his advantage as he heads on through turn 15 down this straight into 16. This is all new to the drivers, really, when it comes down to it, to the 2023 version of the game. And as he flies through the final part of the laps, he's going across the line. It's a 27.5, and that is the marker everyone has to beat tonight. And I mean, if you're Kai Pearson, Are you worried about that, or is that 82 points or 3 points that he's got relatively handy for him?
Yeah, I mean, he's not in a direct battle with Cameron in any way. Again, I don't know how much time Kai has put into the PC side of things as Flotman goes slightly quicker by 15 thousandths. Kai is coming up to the line now. A low 27 will be the goal by the end of this session for most of these drivers. Kai Pearson kicking himself off there with a lap a tenth slower than Flotman. But that gap that he's got, he can afford to, you know, he can maybe take a risk tonight but he could also, you know, just play it safe. He's still got that gap regardless, and so I think he'll be feeling fairly comfortable about this.
It's it's his to lose at this stage, isn't it, for Kai Pearson is in the standings. But there's a lot of these drivers out there that know what they're doing and are pretty rapid, to say the least. The two Hascars just going across the line. Magician was the first one, and it's now Gabor that takes provisional pole away from everyone else that's gone board with Shazoo Tom as he completes the lap. But that's one out of the box from Gabor then.
It is indeed, and Gabor, who has yet to have a pole position this season, has been a full-time driver from the word go. He'll be looking to change that here this evening, and I tell you what, he's always had one lap pace in him. That hasn't changed coming into the new year so far. Still drivers on lap include Liam Bowman, who I think invalidated his first attempt. We saw what he pulled out of the bag in Monaco to start fourth on the grid on a controller, mind you, as again there's discussions around holding an all-pad championship down the line. Shazoo Tom over the line for the final car on that first run. He's down in P14. But I tell you what, bar Gabor, this is looking really close at the moment. A lot of drivers finding their way into the 1 minute 27s, but still so much time to be found out there, especially as drivers reacclimatise to the league racing fashion.
I think there was a Mercedes there possibly getting in the way of Liam Bowman as he was on a quick lap. I saw the tail end of it as they were coming through turn 15. And Liam Bowman has bailed on his lap time, so that's an interesting. I wonder if he will say anything in regards to that. Here is, speaking of drivers on the track, Stefano is on the track now. He's joined a little bit late onto this one, having a little bit of a issue in his game, but he's here. 11 minutes of the session to go, and let's see what he can do as one of only two drivers yet to set a competitive lap time.
Yeah, Stefano is. OP Stefano, that is, now back in the session. He was having some issues, so hopefully that's not a long-lasting thing for the Ferrari driver tonight. You know, sometimes when you can't load up the game, you eventually get kicked off it after a while. But hopefully he's dialed himself in. He has got the Carlos Sainz helmet on now, so whether that does find him the race-winning pace that was shown, the only non-Red Bull driver to win in 2023 was Carlos Sainz. He'll need that luck as he takes on the first corner here at a new-look Singapore, now at 3.062 miles on this harbourside location through the third corner. It's a nice little hairpin, kink of 4, then it's turn number 5, really late apex here, and then try and straighten it up for the exit, get close to that wall, open up the DRS, downforce heavy on these cars, so the top speeds won't be looking as spectacular as we saw a few weeks ago in Las Vegas, but drivers will be looking to shave off as much of that rear wing as possible tonight, because a click or two lower could give you an overtaking advantage when it comes to the race.
Definitely, and you know, it's all it takes is just that one little slight adjustment to give you an advantage over someone else, and it does show incredibly here in WOR. And OP Stefano then looking relatively perfect on that a hairpin there at turn 13 as he opens the DRS and hurtles his way down into turn 14, and he's looking pretty good. I haven't been able to see any purple sector times unfortunately for him, but it's looking solid considering all the issues he's had.
I think he's about half a second off at the moment. Hopefully it's not that much as he crosses the line, but again, just being in this situation when you're playing catch-up in the session is not ideal for him as he rounds the final corner now and up to the line. It is in the 1 minute 28, so he ends the lap almost 8/10 slower than NVR Gabor, so he's not last, is OP Stefano. It's one positive he can take, but as he finishes his lap, everyone else now comes out of the pit lane. So Stefano, I think, will only be able to get one more run in at the end of the session, because if he does 2, I think he'll leave himself tight for time. So he might think about saving a set of softs for the race. It might come useful.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, we've seen in the past where it has been useful. As we go on board with Championship Leader for his second run, he's the first driver to go out and get a lap time in this second run, and it's nice to see what Kai Pearson can do with a little bit of pressure on him this time around, with quite a few drivers throwing in some cracking lap times already. Will we see Kai Pearson, or has Kai Pearson held back a little bit in his first run, just as a banker, just to see what anyone else would do?
I don't think Kai is the type of person to leave much in reserve. I don't think there's many sandbagging games going on, but 700ths improvement in the first sector is enough to see him go purple. Again, I'm not quite sure on the accuracy of that at this moment in time, but either way, he is a confident boy still, no matter what platform he finds himself on. Coming into the tricky turn 10 now. The old Singapore sling used to be here. A lot easier now, but a slight miss of the apex going through turn 11. Maybe just not wanting to have his Red Bull unsettled. But again, just a demonstration of the different driving styles. And he tries to use all of the track on the exit. But that white line is your marker for the track invalidation, which Kai Pearson has just picked up.
That's not ideal for him. Let's go on board with the other Stefano, as the Williams driver then hurtles down. He's the next driver. Into turn 14 he goes. And again, looking very close to that white line on the exit of 14. But he's managed to keep it in as he hurtles his way down, as I think that's going to be an Alpine that possibly could be in his way if they don't move out the way quickly enough for the Williams driver, as he hurtles through 17 into 18. The Alpine driver has moved on. What can Stefano, the Williams Stefano, do? How far up he will go? He's quicker, but not quick enough to jump Murphy just yet.
Hales further behind now, I think half a second up in the first sector. He's making a late reserve appearance. That wasn't meant to be Knuth in the car there tonight. But again, another swap there. Enzo has crossed the line, found a 10th. He's gone 4th. Flopman's rounded the final couple of corners. No, he's abandoned and come into the pit lane. So I'm not sure where he made that mistake. Gabor still pushing out there at the moment. Tim also still valid. Cameron Dowds a 10th and a half up, but invalid. There's pace in the Scottish driver making his Tier 1 debut here in WOR tonight is Louis Valentin. There he is, the master of street circuits, who dominated around here in the WOR Legacy Division when the new track first launched. It's a 127.462 now to beat.
Yeah, we were I'm surprised we haven't spoken more about Louis Valentin before this point, because we know how good he is at a street circuit, and he is up there at the moment, but only just ahead of Gabor. Be interesting to see what Gabor can do, and whether we believe the purple sector marker we've just got from Matteo here, as he hurtles his way down through 15 into 16. It's a lot smoother, that sector now, sector 3, isn't it? Without the kinks around going under the bridges and whatnot. But here he threw around the final few corners, and the Aston Martin driver throws himself into 8th place provisionally.
He does indeed. Matteo, again, a one-time race winner from the previous season of the WOR Legacy Division, I think, unless I'm mixing up my tournaments. I hope I'm not. But again, another reserve appearance tonight. He posted on Twitter a little earlier on, or X I should say, how he didn't really fancy himself on tonight's grids. But so far, so good for the young Italian, it has to be said, who is still improving out there at the moment. Tim couldn't find much more time. Gabor wasn't able to improve either. Sammy Shempsey on an in-lap. I think it's just that stage again where everybody's heading back into the pit lane. But I do have some news. Yeah, sorry, it was Nando that won here. I knew I was mixing up. It was Louis Valentin Monaco, wasn't it? I do have some news on the race. Expect some intermediate tyres throughout.
Ooh. So Stefano won't be needing that extra set of soft tyres then, will he? So anyway, through the... Well, speaking about OP Stefano, he's on track, just about to set another lap time. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to get a lap through. But let's see. Well, 2 laps through, I should say. He's definitely going to get 1 more lap through. Is the Ferrari driver as he heads on through Sector 1.
Oh, my word. Sammy Shempsey has crashed on the pit entrance. He's hit the pit wall. A complete lapse in concentration. sees the front wing come flying off the McLaren. I'm sorry, and I'm aware there's a lap going on at the moment, but he's had to reset to track. He can't reverse. He's trying to completely U-turn it. He's hit the wall again. Back into the pit lane he comes. He's driving on tenterhooks to not get disqualified. He will be if he blocks the pit lane. Complete full lock. He's in the pit lane. Sami Shemsi has done it.
Wow, I think we need a clapping emoji. You know, the at game shows, you know, where it's all clapping away. I think we need one of those for me to press a button for when things like that happen. Well done, Sami Shemsi, for getting it back into the pit. So that is quite an achievement. Anyway, OP Stefano, what can he do as he's heading down through 15 into 16? Wow, this is going to be very, very tight. He's definitely not going to get another lap time, is the Ferrari driver. He's going to go all or nothing. No, he's not. He's going into the pits now so he can go for another lap. He wasn't happy with that one.
No, he wasn't. Regardless, he will want to get that third set of tyres on. He'll just be preparing himself for that final run. Joe Murphy, who, of course, did take his maiden podium before we left you at the Christmas break, down in 18th at the moment. It wouldn't be a great return for him, but he is the first car on a flying lap at the moment. He's cleared some of the traffic, including his teammate in Flotman for tonight. It's not Furious, the one-time race winner. It's Flotman reserving in the Alfa Romeo. No invalidation on the exit of turn 13. We've seen that catch Kai Pearson out. Then turn 14, tricky little corner. Try and not under-rotate that front right and get a lock-up. It's all neatly done for Joe Murphy, who now has a very simple straight. The kink of 15 leads you on to turn 16. Used to be a technical little section there, whether it's permanent, whether it's temporary. I don't think anybody knows for sure, but 2 more corners to go. Turn 18 and 19, gets stuck on that outside curb, but still manages to go quickest. It didn't look like the tidiest, but it certainly had some speed. Joe Murphy, your new provisional pulse hitter.
That is interesting there, as the Ferrari coming out of the pits just as MVR Magician is coming through to do his lap time. I think Joe Murphy will do him the honours of just letting him by without any incident there. But that was 7/10 quicker in Sector 2 for Joe Murphy. 7.5 actually, I think it was, which was incredible for the Alfa Romeo driver, as we see what Magician could do. Currently P14, and will be wanting a little bit higher than that, the Xbox driver, as he's heading through now Sector 2 into turn 9, nice and close to the exit there onto the wall, not clipping it. Let's see if he can not do what George Russell did. It's given us a different camera angle, but it's all nice and not as tidy as he would have wanted, as Liam Bowman picks up a free place grid penalty, which is likely to mean a lobby restart for us. However, he's now picked up a second one. That's not ideal at all. MVR Magician down through into 14, and he's out of this qualifying session.
Oh my word, that was a shock to me as I flicked back from Liam Bowman, who I know what he's playing at. He wants to get his supercar hot lap in before we start the race tonight, but I think that will be every race this season where we've had to have a restart. So it's not the end of the world. We're pretty used to it now here in WOR. World Online Restart, its nickname. Quantum is a 10th down at the moment. He's down in 15th, so isn't finding as much pace as he would have wanted. I think he's transitioned back into his university environment, but Flotman makes it an Alfa Romeo 1-2. Might be the last time we say that coming into this year, but the reserve driver has made a name for himself here tonight.
Fantastic lap time from him, but Cameron Dowds then is up on his first lap time, as Enzo currently above his teammate in 6th place, just finished his lap time. Sami Shemsi still got time to make though, but I'm going to go on board with the Tier 2 Championship leader, the rookie, I suppose you could call him, for tonight, up against some stiff competition, and he's doing a very good job at the moment, as it's not the best camera angles to take there, as he heads through into turn 13. Can he keep it within the lines? It's looking very good, very close. That's exactly how he wants to be as he hurtles his way now down into turn 14. DRS wide open. Everything's looking relatively good for Cameron at the moment.
Gabor leapfrogged Louis Valentine, got within 7 thousandths of Joe Murphy. He'll only start on the second row as it stands. Still, lap times coming in behind. Liam Bowman crosses the line, is 8th quickest, will drop to 18th. And Matteo, to say he didn't fancy himself, goes quickest. Unless Cameron Downs can beat him on debut, he can't, but it's so close, within half a tenth there. And Matteo puts it on pole position just as we get a Forza Ragazzi in the live chat. Matteo has done it, I think, unless Stefano can respond in the Scarlet Red Ferrari. I don't think he's anywhere near quick enough. Rounds in the final corner now. Can he get himself off the bottom at least? He does go 16th. Sensational from Matteo.
Wow, that's, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but that was kind of out of nowhere. We were not expecting that at all. And to boot, Kai Pearson is down in 13th place. Unlucky for some, unlucky for him, definitely. But Matteo doing a fantastic job, throwing himself into first place. Flotman in second, and third to Cameron Dowds. And this, a very unusual top tier race qualifying we've got. But I wonder how many of those drivers are preparing more for a different race.
Well, we're going to have a restart, aren't we? So it does give all drivers scope to completely change their setup, because there's not going to be any ruling on that, is there? Luke Humphries, the World Darts Champion, rightly saying in the live chat, reserve top 3. It is a reserve top 3. We have our championship leader in 13th. It's got all the makings of an exciting race here tonight, and with weather in the mix, very excited now.
Definitely in the top 7 drivers, all within a tenth of each other. It is Matteo, Flotman, Cameron Dowds, Sami Chemsey, Joe Murphy, Gabor, Louis Valentine, OP Tim, Benza, Enzo, Liam Bowman, MV Arguin, Kai Pearson, our championship leader, Geron, Shazoo Tom, Stefano of OP, MVR Magician, Quantum, F7R, Stefano, and then Tails BR is the order there. Wow. A reserve top 3. Goodness me, I don't really know where to go with this. This is not how the book was written, really, was it?
It wasn't. I don't think I could have predicted any of that, considering I have no idea how many of these drivers are performing coming off the back of the 2-3 weeks off that we've had. But either way, Matteo, who I can tell you exactly what he tweeted. He said, "What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?" That meme, if you know that meme, you know that meme. He tweeted that, and he's come and completely disproved himself and stuck it on pole position. Who needs confidence?
Yeah, there's nothing really more from that. I mean, I would go for the elephant on top of the tree that's hanging over there. No one knows how it got there. I mean, that would be me if I was pole position of a race, especially Tier 1. But he's done a fantastic job. Take nothing away from him. He's put it there, and now he's got a race to prove it. Obviously, guys, we do have a lobby restart, so please bear with us while we ramble on and find something to talk about between now and then. And I suppose it could be a good time to go back to the standings, where we see Kai Pearson currently obviously leading the way with that lovely I'm trying to do quick maths here and it's we're making my head hurt. 37 points, I think, which shouldn't really be quick maths at all. It's quite easy. But Louis Valentine, there's a lot. I mean, the good thing for him is he's ahead of Kai Pearson in qualifying. He doesn't have to go through as many cars.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think anything is a bonus for Louis Valentine, who I did get mixed up with Nando Jr. I again apologise about that, but you give him the tools. He's coming off the back of a win in Las Vegas. Yes, that was a few weeks ago. Monaco as well, he finished second. That's 2 street circuit podiums this season. So, by letter of the law, he should be doing very well tonight. And, you know, with the reserves in the mix, will they sort of succumb to him? Will they just sort of play it safe around him? He's got the best chance to push forward from his starting position. That's for sure.
Obviously, we've got Cameron here tonight, and he's going to be definitely one to watch. Is he going to? I say, is he going to? He's obviously going to cause some issues. He's not cause some issues to the top runners because he wants to make a name for himself. It's a perfect time to do so. How, if you were Louis Valentine, how would you take coming up against the young man?
Same old, I think. I mean, there's no point really giving others differential treatment. I think he'll just start as he means to go on this year, at least how he has been. I think over the last year he was brilliant. So I don't think much needs to change tonight.
Fair enough. That's a definitely a good way of putting it there. And we're looking in the chat. Reese Linton, Kai's teammate from last season at Red Bull, backing his ex teammate, I suppose, for a victory. 13th place is. I mean, it's difficult, but it's possible.
With the weather, again, as I say, I'm being told there was an element of a crossover to come. I think it was overcast into Inter. But I think the whole race is just going to be scripted to the light rain, so the intermediate. So there is less of a strategical element, but often we see drivers undercut from the inters, overcut as well, higher chance of safety cars. There's a few ways you could look at it for Kai Pearson, but it's just going to be trying to find the grip off the race start, picking off drivers early, because it'll hopefully for him become a lot more easier.
Now, in real F1, we haven't had a season without a safety car at Singapore. Are we likely to see one tonight, do you think?
We are, based on the fact that we got 2 in Monaco, 1 in Las Vegas, rain as well. If anybody's pushed wide, they're in a wall. It's that simple. Any side-by-side battle is likely to end in a front wing damaged in some way, which does pull the trigger for the eventual virtual safety cars and the safety car. There could be some additional pit stops thrown in tonight as a result, as drivers just want to get themselves on a fresh set of inters, and again the cycle just sort of begins again with having that tyre advantage. So we'll see.
Now, this is a point, guys, in the chat. Let us know who you think is going to take victory tonight. Obviously, Matteo has got a great chance sitting on pole, but we know that pole doesn't always equal a victory. Obviously, giving you plenty of time, Joseph, to think about that. And these guys, usually we do it just in the moments before the formation lap. But who do you think today? Is it? I mean, obviously, a few people have already said Kai, but we've got 3 reserve drivers in the top 3. It could be one of those as well, couldn't it?
It could be. I mean, we've not had a reserve yet win a race this season. It would be a first if we did. Based on what I saw in PSGL, it may have to be Cameron Dowds, but I still fancy Louis based on his street circuit record this season. One of the two. I'll come back to you deciding, I think, halfway through the race.
We've had no one in the chat say anything else at this moment in time. So we'll just wait and see for this one. And I'll cast a few of you's minds back to season 13 when Otis Lawrence in his dominating era in F1 Xbox, and he didn't win this race. He came second. So it just shows, obviously Wilson and Smokey were the other 2 drivers on the podium. Wilson taking the victory. Smokey a champion. Wilson didn't get that championship on the Xbox side of things, but they're both moving on into the PC side of things. Both very, very quick drives. Just shows you don't, maybe a little bit of hope for Kai here is you don't have to be a champion to be a champion. You don't have to win Singapore. That's a long way of putting it that way.
Max Verstappen, on the other hand, I mean, it was his worst race of last year, and it wasn't even that bad considering how it fell with the safety car. But Singapore, you could always slip up. I mean, it's not the end of the world if Kai doesn't get any points, but it is a massive boost if he wins tonight, because if he, outscores Louis Valentin regardless, he's looking at wrapping up this championship in the next couple of weeks by Belgium, Austria perhaps, and then he can finally get off the platform. He's set out everything he wants to achieve. So he'll always have that in his mind, yes, but I think being 3 seasons ago now, looking at the most recent Singapore race, I don't think he's phased.
I mean, you're saying Belgium possible taking the championship. That's round 9. Yeah, round 9. 2 races. Well, I'm guessing you mean finishing Belgium. This means 2 races that he won't race. I mean, we haven't. I don't want to say dominating, but we haven't seen a driver claim a title in a shorter season. Obviously, we've got a shorter season, but we haven't seen someone do it so quickly in a while, since possibly Otis Lawrence, or maybe since Otis Lawrence maybe.
Yeah, the grid changes so much nowadays that I think a driver of Kai's level just coming here every week and putting in the performance in when it's necessary, he was always bound to get a bit of a head start with his experience as well. Just look at the amount of just sitting in the lobby. There's so many more PlayStation drivers now. There's been a lot of PSGL recruits, of course. It changes often, but again, it's a different championship to what it was when even Otis was racing. So I think both are respectable achievements if they, obviously if Kai does win the title in their own right.
Definitely, and last season Kai really put Reese under the pressure for most of the season. It was a cracking season between the two of them. Obviously, Reese got just that little bit better off it in the end. There was a little bit of coming together between the two of them. I believe it was at Spain. I'm really testing my memory banks right now, but it just shows that Kai has just got stronger as well. It's great, which is great to see.
Yeah, Kai's grown into a leading role here in WOR Tier 1 this season. He might be best friends with Reese Linton, but just from an F1 point of view. I'm not saying that in a real life sense, but they've learnt a lot from each other. They continue to do so in the same esports team over on the PC side of things now in Vroom, of course. So they will keep on developing. A lot of people have put them in their ones to watch for this year. And might I add as well, this is the time of year, historically, on just in general, that these drivers are practicing for challenges. They're grinding the events to be able to qualify. They've not got that this year. It's a very strange year in that F1 Esports stopped before it ever got going. So feels like that end goal is a little bit further away, but it's just about staying on top of that as well, which I know Kai is very much capable of.
Now we are just waiting for the last driver to get themselves into the lobby, so please bear with us. Hopefully start time in about 5 minutes. We will hope, but we'll keep you updated on that one. I don't want to start speaking too much about next week before this week has even started. However, next week is our one and only sprint race. It's Mexico. It's odd having only one sprint race for Tier 1 crossplay this season, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the 11-round season last season, where it ended up being Kota as the sprint, but we've gone for Mexico. More points on offer in the 8th for first, down to 1 point for 8th. So more points on offer for the drivers, more overtaking as well down that illustriously long straight, it has to be said. But I look forward to that. I think it will throw another spanner in the works and, might even jumble up the grid a bit more.
So we are still waiting for one more. But yeah, the extra points on offer, Mexico really could help. It could hinder Kai Pearson as well. That's something we've got to keep an eye on. People forget the extra points with that sprint race. But anyway, just as a reminder here, we have 3 reserve drivers and a top 3 for the for qualifying. That's Matteo, Franco, and Cameron as your top 3. I believe it was in that order as well, Joseph. So it's anyone's game at the top. Louis Valentine has some work to do to catch Kai Pearson in the championship. However, he's got plenty of cars as his buffer on the track, with Kai Pearson starting in 13th place tonight. We haven't seen the best of Liam Bowman tonight, someone we've barely spoken about. I know he's a pad driver, so this could be a problem for him tonight to really push on in the standings himself.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been the best qualifying for Liam Bowman. I think he was 11th before the grid penalty, and he'll be reinstated there, of course. But he has overcome some pretty incredible challenges this season, hasn't he? Think back to Silverstone, when he was as low as 11th on the hard tyres, did the overcut, 10 laps to go. It looked like he was in sort of a field of his own down in P7, but he managed to overtake 6 cars to win that race. Monaco as well, he was denied a heroic podium through a 5-second penalty. He did have a late spin, which would have been enough to actually get him over the line for a P3. Ended up finishing 4th. He's had some brilliant results this season. I know the long-term goal is a championship, challenges and whatever, comes from him on PC, being one of, if he gets to that stage, being one of the leading pad drivers, of course. But, yeah, I wouldn't count him out tonight.
We finally got the lobby started and underway. Liam Bowman's got a great chart. It's always good. He's a decent person to speak to as well, Liam. So hopefully he will do well tonight. Hopefully they all do well, but definitely ones to watch your top 3 for tonight. We're just waiting for the lobby everyone to get themselves sorted in the lobby. So sorting their setups out and their strategies. And with it being rain, it just adds that little bit extra drama for us tonight. There's a few people in the chat when saying Matteo could still win this one. They're still backing Matteo. It's a good shout as well. He's put in an incredible lap, and he's just got to be calm and collected about it.
If he gets off the line well, and if the drivers behind start to fight, if he gets a couple of seconds opened up in the first few laps, oh no, Cameron Dowds has left. Oh, he's disconnected. That is a bit of a problem for our 3rd place starter today, and that's what I mean. You just got to hope for that bit of luck behind as well. Drivers just not having it go their way. Matteo should be confident. He's just taken pole position through perhaps not expecting it. So why can't he do the same with the win?
Yeah, let's hope that there's no massive issues there for Cameron, because it'll be interesting to see how he can handle the pressure of everything tonight. I mean, we've rattled on for so long, haven't we? And it's going to be better when you guys get to see the action on track. However, with it all, obviously we're not sure who's going to win, but it should be a decent race. With the track changes, I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it will be. I think the conditions, again, as I said, likely to sort of stay around this level. I don't think we'll see wets. We might see slicks if the inter's clear enough water. You occasionally get that on the F1 game, but I think just having these consistent intermediate conditions, it will mean that drivers grow into this race. They might not start well, but never count them out making a recovery.
Definitely not. Hopefully soon we will be underway, and it will be a very quick transfer over onto the screen as soon as we get some information on it. With starting, Harry Jenner saying he's going to type Cameron to win, and then he leaves. Obviously, we'll try our best. He could still win the race. There's still possibilities. I know it's not ideal, but the race will start very, very shortly here at WOR. We're at round 6 here for Singapore, and one bit of useless information about the Singapore Grand Prix for you is there is over 1,600 custom-made floodlights for the track.
Wow.
something that you will never need to know. If it comes up in a pub quiz, I expect half of it. Anyway, we are on the track, ready, hopefully, to go. We are on 5 lights here, and away we go for Singapore. First time in 2024 in WOR, and Matteo is leading the way, and Cameron's Dowd's car is being ghosted through by Flotman. Flotman trying to regain that position from Cameron Downs, but at the moment in time, it is Matteo leading the way into turn 5.
Theo's had a perfect start, side by side between the two Mercedes, coming through turn number 4. Good exit from Liam Bowman. He's made up a couple of positions. Yellow flag momentarily. I think everybody's back to full speed, though, as they race down Raffles Boulevard for the first time. Down the inside there goes Tim, trying to get his position back there on his teammate Benzer. Liam Bowman's got all the way up to 7th. It's a sensational start. The pad does tend to thrive in these conditions. He's made the most of it on lap 1. Side by side, Kai Pearson and Ogween. Kai almost showed the barrier there, but he stays out of it, but has lost a position. Our championship leader not getting away as well as he would have hoped.
Big penalty. 5 seconds penalty for Liam Bowman for cutting a corner and gaining a position. This is not ideal at all for him, even after his such a great start, up 4 places. Enzo stuck in 10th. Kai Pearson's finally got up there, and F7 Stefano up 7 places as well. Gonna have a look at the tyres. No one's wrist wet, so that's kind of obvious there. Garbel in 6th place. He has not moved up or down a position. Louis Valentine, though, up 2 places. He's had a great start, exactly what he needs. And a little bit of a service announcement, I suppose, if any of the PlayStation guys can hear, if you can get Cameron Dowds in. And as saying that, he's just joined anyway. So anyway, through we go, and the first lap is done and dusted. The 2 strategies possible are a 2-stop or a 1-stop, but it will all depend on the safety car and whether it comes out or not. And the 2 leaders are trying to break a second gap to Sami Shemzi, who is in 3rd place.
Yeah, no DRS in these conditions, of course. And just another word on Cameron Dowds. There might be bigger problems for him if he hasn't got a setup on that car. He sort of lagged out as soon as we came in, and then hadn't joined back until that very moment. So he would have been given possibly a default high downforce setup, I want to think, which is better than nothing, but it is not going to be optimized at all well for these challenging conditions. I do hope he can get up to speed, though. He's now 3 seconds off the back of the pack. Matteo and Flotman, a reserve 1-2. Sami Shemzi, the first full-time driver, in behind, but he's got 1.4 seconds to find. Liam Bowman will be asking for a penalty appeal. Apparently he cut a corner and gained a place, but quite difficult to do that at Singapore. I don't know quite how he's done that.
Yeah, the only place he could have done it is really turn 1, 2 and 3. Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see. Sammy has pulled a little bit of a gap to Joe Murphy, who was really asking questions at the early point of this lap, but he's managed to find a little bit of a gap there. Unfortunately, Cameron unable to get himself back into the car, and that is just not ideal at all for the AlphaTauri driver. We were expecting possibly maybe a little bit too much of him tonight, but we were hoping to see how he would fare. Matteo, fastest man on the track, which is kind of understandable, seeing as he's led all the race so far and is pulling away of Flotman, who is also pulling away from Sammy. It's 1.7 seconds now.
Yeah, it is indeed. Stefano on board with him, applying pressure to our... that's F7R Stefano, that is. Applying pressure to our championship leader, Kai Pearson, who's stuck facing the rear wing of Tim as well. So challenging to overtake, but a little bit deep goes OP Tim. Here's the opportunity that Kai Pearson would have wanted. It's rare that we catch many overtakes, but, oh my word, he tries the small gap around the outside of turn 5, late down the inside of turn 6. A little bit of a rear lockup, but he manages to get his car hooked into the apex with Tim still on the inside for turn 7. Kai will find the traction on the racing line there around the outside, hold the inside into turn number 9 as well. Brilliant move there from Kai Pearson. It was a pretty long-winded one, but he manages to fight his way into 11th.
That's incredible stuff from the championship leader here. at WOR Crossplay, and it's exactly what we would come to expect. Very long-winded, like you said, but very class through it as well. Tim trying to find some way back, but I don't think it's going to be possible as they come hurtling down from the exit of turn 13 into turn 14. Obviously, you quite rightly mentioned earlier on, no DRS to help you overtake here, which, with being a track it's difficult to overtake on anyway, is going to be a struggle for some of these guys.
Oh, Louis Valentine's gone straight on at turn 16, and I think he clipped the back of Joe Murphy there. I'll have to maybe rewind that and watch that, because I only saw that in my vicinity. Matteo sets another purple lap. He continues to set the pace here in Singapore. Enzo's had a moment. He's coming to the pit lane, actually, so I don't know if he's picked up any early front wing damage here. Massive, massive moment for two of our actually main protagonists, our main full-time drivers here in WOR Crossplay Tier 1. It is a front wing change for the McLaren. Didn't go particularly well for him in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and again he'll be fighting from the back this time.
Louis Valentine looks like it doesn't look like there's damage, it just looks like maybe a lack in concentration and a lack of a focus, I suppose, as he's just getting himself back into the swing of things. He's managed to still stay with Joe Murphy for the time being, just behind Gabor and Liam Bowman, and a switchback possibly from Liam Bowman as they head down into the old Singapore swing. Liam Bowman's forcing his way through there, and he's got the position done and dusted. That aggressive but very fair.
Yeah, and his NVR teammate as well in the conventional esports side of things, Gabor really late on the break, drifting around the hairpin as they cross the Anderson Bridge. And yeah, Jensen there saying in the live chat, as I anticipated, Cameron does have no setup, so he has disconnected again. I think he was, struggling with a long-term connection issue here, it seems, but unfortunately we are not going to see any of his true potential tonight, and that's such a shame to see.
Definitely is, and it's really unfortunate after such a great qualifying to get yourself up into P3. Let's back to the action though, and Benza nearly found a way for Gabor at turn 13 as well, but nothing doing. And Sammy Shemsi holding Joe Murphy back, and now he's got that little bit of a buffer there. He's showing his, I don't want to say his true pace, he's showing a little bit more pace about that now. And let's go board with Kai Pearson and just see what the time he's not really catching Giron just in front of him.
He's not. He did get past him. It was a great move as we saw, but since really to rot on the board, yes, and he will still have the championship lead regardless tonight. But 2.6 seconds behind your own at this stage. Yeah, again, I don't really know what to say about that. Can he find pace in the next few laps? Time will tell. It'll be a gap that we continue to monitor for sure. Sammy Shemsi, on the other hand, again, he's lost a lot of time as well. 3 seconds now behind OP Flotman. So drivers we'd usually be going pretty mad about is the ones we're being left pretty disappointed by. Yeah,
it's really, really interesting. And I've just seen in the chat that unfortunately Cameron can't get in his car, so we won't have any further action from him at all. Showed great pace, but not ideal for tonight. Unfortunately, Louis Valentine trying to find a way past Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy's losing a little bit of time now. It's going to be, well, he showed great pace to start with. Maybe he just used a bit too much of the tyre early doors.
Yeah, again, I'm just hearing as well, reading in the live chat, I'm saying Xbox drivers struggling with FPS in the first corner. I mean, my screen at the moment looks horribly choppy, loading in all this at Singapore and being in spectator mode as well isn't great. I'm sure it's pretty hell for the drivers right now, but I don't imagine that's fairly exclusive to Xbox, because I know old gen PS4 has had a lot of issues in the past, particularly with screen freezes. So I don't know what the issue is at the moment. Sammy Shemsi is certainly not up to his full speed. Flotman is now attacking Matteo for the race lead. Kai Pearson has reduce that gap by around a few tenths as well. While we don't have much overtaking, we can speculate what's going on, but yeah, not sure what the issue is. Maybe
Kai picked up a bit of damage. He was involved with some side-by-side action early doors, so maybe there was a little bit of damage. It is side-by-side on the first lap. You don't know. He looks like, if he is, he's handling the damage well. I've just noticed it looks like it looks very aesthetically pleasing, first to fifth. It's Aston, Alpha, McLaren, Alpha, Aston. It looks like a McLaren sandwich, really, there, isn't it? With sauce and the sauce being maybe Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin, the bread. I don't know where I'm going with this at all, Joseph, so please save me at any point before I embarrass myself too much. But Louis Valentine trying to attack Joe Murphy again.
I can never remember what it's called, but it's when the date is the same forwards and backwards. It's like one of those.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of what it's called. Somebody more clever than me is going to have to tell me again in the live chat. I'm pretty sure I asked this the other week as well when we had a similar situation. But again, I do like the pleasure of that. Joe Murphy and Louis Valentine, of course, second in line for the pit stops. But with the tyre wear fluctuating so much between the drivers, they'll all be pitting on different laps. So despite everybody starting in the same boat on fresh intermediate tyres, there will be a lot of change. Louis Valentine makes a change in positioning and ruins everything we were just talking about. So forget it.
What a way to ruin our fun, eh? Anyway, Louis Valentine up into fourth place with Joe Murphy trying to find a way back past. Liam Bowman, though, is right behind him. He's not caught too much in there. I think Joe Murphy make a little mistake at the exit of turn 9, which is not ideal for your back tyre temperatures there, but the rain should hopefully cool them down pretty quickly, as Flopman, I think, has made a mistake because he's 1.2 seconds behind Matteo now. And let's see if there's any damage to the front end of that. No, it may just be a mistake at one of the corners.
I knew I was close. In my head I was going Paradigm, but that's not the one. It's a palindrome when it's the same forwards and backwards. So I'm glad I googled that, and I'm glad that is now out of my head. But Flopman, with that mistake or whatever happened, there's going to be a loss in momentum there as well, because he was that close to taking the race lead, and now he's got to work for it all again. He's going to be susceptible to even more mistakes. Joe Murphy, on the other hand, to be fair to him, has stayed with Louis Valentine. Bowman and Gabor still there in behind as well. Gabor didn't lose too much time to Bowman, even if he was drifting around the hairpin at one point. Got an exciting battle ongoing for the race lead. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3, and it's Cameron Dowd, set-upless, now front wingless.
So has he managed to finally get himself back into the lobby? Is that what we're... Or is it AI that did that?
That is him, but he's not got a setup on the car, so whatever he's driving with is not great.
Okay, I didn't think he would be able to get back into the lobby. I thought that was the problem. Anyway, he's retired in the pit lane, so he shouldn't have any more issues. I say he shouldn't have any more issues, and it's unfortunate for your debut in WR Crossplay Tier 1 to end like that, but I'm sure he's going to have plenty more chances to shine in this league. Let's see. Murphy's now losing ground. Kai Pearson has caught up with Giron there, so that's going to be an interesting one. He should be able to attack Giron and Benza. He's managed to fix whatever issue he was holding.
Yeah, there's been a lot of drivers just holding on at the moment. It's not been pleasing, actually, watching them rounds and rounds, sort of sliding every single corner. There's not been too many mistakes either, which is lucky. Further back, Yaron just getting pinched there into the barrier. Finally, it's just starting to hotten up in the midfield here. Humid the air here in Singapore. But Benza, who did go and take a podium in Las Vegas, again, not having a similar sort of fate tonight.
He is really struggling is Benza. I'm not sure what's happened in this lap, but coming through turn 14, struggled to get the power down, and Giron nearly lost the rear end, the front end, sorry, and nearly collected Benza, and Kai Pearson was close to it as well. Is Giron trying to go for the move into turn 5 here? He isn't able to, but nearly again collects him.
He does. Bit of a slide there for Yaron. Kai Pearson made one brilliant move already so far. Down Raffles Boulevard. Yaron braking late there, going into turn number 7. Again, it's so difficult because you've got to be really right up behind the car in front. There's not much scope for slipstream. There's no DRS available. The overtakes have got to be done the hard way. It's tricky to follow in the middle sector. Your only real chance, turn 14, which is where we almost saw the accident. And if you get the run, try it into 16 as well. The new sort of chicane that's become an overtaking hotspot at the end of that new straight. But either way, this is just becoming a game of cat and mouse, all for a maximum here of 4 points, which is what Ben's scoring at the moment.
This is odd, and he's losing ground by about 0.2 a second to Gabor ahead. So the leading pack is pulling away quite nicely. Louis Valentine is catching Sammy at about 2-3 the lap as well. So he's dropped Joe Murphy in the battle for P4, and now he's trying to get into Sammy Shemzi for the battle for the podium. Flopman and Sammy are staying about 4 seconds gap as well. OP Benza, though, really struggling. It was 3.9 at the end of last lap. It's now 4.7. He's really holding Giron up. And look how defensive he's going down the start-finish straight. And Giron surely has got the move done. But has he gone too deep? He has done. And that's left him open for Kai Pearson to have a go as well.
And that is just what I'm talking about. Even if you do get that run, you've got to be careful not to compromise yourself. It was way too tight going into the first corner because it was brave defending by Benza. Yaron had no choice but to try and cut over that track. In real life, he would have had to sort of go around a bollard. That's not to be in the game. Now Kai Pearson's all over the back of the Dutch driver, who again defends to the inside, but does manage to keep within the track limits. Kai Pearson back up the inside. He'll do very well to slow that down. There is contact. He was drifting into the side pod of the Williams. He does manage to get ahead, but there was contact, and I think Yaron will be quite unhappy with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any damage, thankfully, to the Williams car, but Kai Pearson reckons he's got a better chance at attacking Benza than Giron has, and that's going to be an interesting one. It was a definite send there from Kai Pearson. He managed to slow the car down, though, quite impressively, even if there was a little bit of a slide through it as well. But OP Benza, not saying he's the cause of it, but he is slower than these guys, which is causing frustration to them.
Yeah, lots of frustration in this mid-pack. We can see it now visibly. Kai Pearson just wanted the move done, and I think that's fair enough in a situation like this. But again, that will just sort of be first warning, calm yourself down, because once you've got ahead of Benza, you're pretty much clear. But who can get ahead of Benza? He has been an absolute roadblock. 6 seconds nearly the gap. Jeroen's coming into the pit lane. There might be some front wing damage, I'm afraid, sustained from that contact, unless he ended up hitting another wall throughout the course of lap 10. Matteo is 3 seconds out in front at the moment. Absolute dominance from, I say it again if you've just joined us, a driver that did not fancy himself at all tonight. I'm sure he'll be willing to talk to us about that. Bowman is ahead of, Joe Murphy. He's up to 5th, but does have a 5-second penalty.
He does. That's a good move as well, down into turn 7 there for Liam Bowman. There was no front wing change on for Giron. That was I don't want to know if I don't want to say it was a planned pit stop, but he was happy to go in there maybe for a 2-stopper. He's maybe thinking he can do it that way around and not have to. Well, he's worried about the pace of Benza, and he feels he could get past the drivers quicker doing it this way. Let's wait and see if that is the case. But Kai Pearson has a lot of work to do, and he's got a Mercedes in front and a Mercedes behind. He managed to overtake OP Tim in a good way. Let's see how he can handle Benza this time round.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just watching the gap to the leader from F7R Jeroen, who did just bolt on those fresh sets of intermediates, of course. It'd be interesting to know just how much quicker 10 laps gets you. With regards to intermediate tyres, it was around 44.7. That's dropped already to 44.0. So throughout the space of a lap, there's, I think, well over a second in that. So if anybody wants to undercut, it seems like a really viable thing to do. But surely you want to be doing one stop. So splitting the strategy fairly evenly down the middle seems just like the best way to go, because it will just be the other way round. At the end of the race, Jeroen will start to struggle.
Yeah, I think you lose about 29 seconds in a pit stop here at Singapore. So it's a long time in comparison. So one stop definitely seems like the way to go. But Kai Pearson unable to find a way past OP at the moment. OP Benzer, sorry. If anything, he's lost a bit of ground. Maybe he's just trying to recoup some ERS to go on an attack. But very, very interesting. Louis Valentine, though, is under a second, or on the verge of being under a second, to attack Sami Shemzi now.
Sami Shemzi has not been able to see anybody in front of him for a while. His mirrors were looking pretty empty as well, but for not much longer. Again, it's just interesting how these drivers are actually taking the hairpin. Louis Valentine just completely sideways. It's just drift central. The rear tyres, I mean, have to be struggling. They're probably putting on a lot more wear than the front, with the sort of absence of high-speed sectors around here. Louis Valentine back down to 1.2 seconds, though. So, again, it will take a good few laps for him to even get close to thinking about an overtake. Again, it might come in the pit stop phases. But that Benzer defending... Well, Kai Pearson locking up both front tyres, almost hitting him into the back of turn 16. Driver's really starting to struggle on the tyres. Kai Pearson takes the opportunity then to come into the pit lane. He'll respond to Jeroen and he'll try and make an undercut of himself.
Let's see what happens there. Actually, let's go on board with the Williams driver, as he's got Enzo behind him for company, as they're on lap 13 here. I wonder if... It seems a little early, doesn't it, for a one stop for these two drivers, with 31 laps on lap 13, but there is no sign. Where is Kai Pearson? Kai Pearson's going to be behind these guys, which is not going to be ideal for him. Hopefully he can stay, for his sake, he can stay in front of Quantum, who is just coming around that first corner now.
Yeah, he is. Jeroen has got how many seconds? 6 seconds after just 2 laps on those intermediate tyres. That is a lot of time to be making up on a fresh set. And, well, I don't want to say it, but the likes of Sami Shemzi, Louis Valentine onwards will be looking over their shoulders, because that might be another obstacle to overtake when it comes to these guys making their pit stops. Matteo and Flottman, I think they'll be perfectly okay to sort of stick to plan A and just ensure that you're getting a healthy set of tyres to the end. But like I said, I think anyone on back, there's going to be work to be done, there's going to be battles, there's going to be contact, there is going to be conflict in the second stint of this race.
Yeah, I think it's going to come back to being full-on action a little bit later on. And if there is a safety car, we haven't had one yet, but if there is one, as I think, is that Liam Bowman going into the pits? It is. Liam Bowman decides to go in now, as the OP teammates at Mercedes, Benzer really struggling throughout. His teammate now, Tim, behind him, probably not pushing too hard, but this is going to be... It's going to be interesting for Benzer in how he affects the two stoppers race.
Yeah, indeed. Bowman is heading out of the pit lane. He's been jumped by a long way from F7R Jeroen. Enzo, who made that earlier pit stop, again jumps the Scottish driver. Kai Pearson is going to come out alongside almost the driver that was in 5th place. There is going to be a lot of spanners in the works here, and all because Benzer has had to force these drivers into an earlier pit stop. They can now play further hold up if they wanted to, with the 4 drivers behind, and we just sort of carry on like this, I suppose. I expect one of Flottman, Sami Shemzi maybe into the pit lane on this lap as well, because if they're seeing gains of up to 3 seconds a lap, then it is fully worth taking on that earlier lap.
Just thinking, what do the Mercedes duo do? Do they pit one and hope Benzer holds out? And actually, I'm just, my brain is going a mile a minute at the moment. Has Liam Bowman made a mistake pitting at this time, or because he could be caught up in all of this. Saying that, Flopman is in the pits. Let's see where Flopman and Louis Valentine come out in comparison, because they're going to be behind this train as well. And saying that, Benzer's going into the pits. It's all kicking off a little bit now.
Yeah, here come the pit stops, certainly scheduled from now on. Flopman, of course, as I mentioned, might try and get that 2, 3, 4 second advantage from the fresh set of tyres out of the pit lane. Jeroen is still a fair bit behind. So like I said, they had the gap to be able to come out comfortably and not worry about anybody that's already picked in this race. Those behind, as I said, will have to. Coming out of the pit lane now, Benzer and Stefano, again, they've long been jumped at this stage as well. Let's see how Flopman gains on Matteo throughout the course of this lap. The gap at the moment, 30.3 seconds. It'll be worth watching that until the moment Matteo pits.
Yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye out. And you know what? Let's change to the leader graphic here. At the moment, Flopman's 30 seconds behind Matteo, and this is going to be interesting. Giron is keeping pace at the moment with Louis Valentine, who came just out in front of him in the pit lane phase, but I don't think it's going to stay that way. As let's have a look at the tyres here, because Giron 4-lap old tyres compared to Louis Valentine's fresh tyres is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Tim is still holding up drivers, which will include Flopman in about 4 seconds' time.
30.3 turns into 28.7 from the moment that Matteo has crossed the line to make his pit stop. He'll again be a bit compromised on the exit as well. So this could be getting towards within 1.5 to 2 seconds, the gap between Matteo and Flopman. Into the pit lane as well, Sami Shemsi and Joe Murphy. Gabor now leads the race for the first time tonight. Tom has got a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Quite hard to do that around here in Singapore, but again, just leaving the track can often give you those warnings. Out of the pit lane comes Matteo. Into the first and second corners comes Flopman. He's going to be tight to the inside of turn 3, and just like that, it's around 1.1 seconds, the gap between Flopman and Matteo, and there's traffic in front.
Traffic in front of both of them as well. Well, obviously both of them, but Shazoo Tom being one of them. Alguin, all these drivers pushing for a one-stop, and the Ferrari of Shazoo Tom is going to be very, very slow in this tricky little bit of a sector where Matteo won't want a car to be slow. He wants to be able to build that gap over his rival behind.
He does. Now look at Matteo. Tom again struggling on those worn intermediate tyres. Matteo's going to have to go down the inside. Will Tom allow him the space? Yes, he does. There's going to be side-by-side coming through turn 11. Tom still on the inside. There's contact. And Tom clips the rear right tyre of the Aston Martin. This is going to compromise Flopman now, who's got no choice but to dive it aggressively down the inside at turn 13, I should say. That's opened up a gap. And from Tom trying to fend off Matteo, it turns into Flopman getting tangled. And the hard work has to start again with Flopman closing the gap.
Enzo was out of the track limits at turn 9. I'm not sure what happened, caused the yellow flag, but it looks like it's all back to racing now. But he's dropped a hell of a lot of positions. Shazoo Tom holding station as he goes into the pits next lap. He's holding one more lap, and he might hold up Louis Valentine. Sami Shemsi obviously lost the position to Louis Valentine by staying out that little bit longer, but those tyres could come back to him towards the end of the race. Alguin deciding to stay out, and if we go on board, let's see how quickly Matteo will catch him through this place.
Indeed. Into the pits, Gabor, Tim. Gabor losing all those positions. It looked like he was in a sweet spot leading the race. But unfortunately, he's actually a little bit slow coming out the pit lane as well. I wonder if he made a mistake there. No, it's because Benz was alongside him on the outside, gets the traction, loses another position there, does the Hungarian driver. Alguin now is the spanner in the works. Matteo's going to do the same thing, maybe try and go down the inside at turn 10. Flopman's a second behind, but that will close as Alguin struggles for grip. There's the exit. It's deja vu for Matteo. Here he goes. And, well, unlike Tom, Alguin made that a whole lot easier for him. I wonder if he'll do the same with Flopman.
Let's see how they handle it as they come through into the hairpin, into turn 13. Flopman's a bit too far behind. There's no last gasp move either. And that is going to hold up Flopman that little bit more than he would have wanted. He sticks to the back end, gets as much slipstream as he can before pulling out and making the overtake there. And it's 1.3 seconds. Hasn't lost too much time, but it's not ideal for Flopman at all, as the Aston Martin driver pulls away a little bit. Shazoo Tom decides to stay out and has been passed by Louis Valentine, who is now, by Sammy Shemsey, who is now 2 seconds behind Louis Valentine. That was 1.4, I believe, before the overtake.
Again, bit of bravery, bit of initiative from Louis Valentine again to get a lap earlier into the pit lane. Find 2 seconds just like that. And again, he's well on course for a third street circuit podium of the season. Will be outscoring Kai Pearson by a lot as well. So he'll be, as it stands, I think back within that sort of race winning gap. And with the sprint race to come in Mexico as well, there's a lot more to play for next week, which is an absolutely perfect situation for Louis Valentine to get himself back into the official championship fight as well. 3.2 seconds off the lead. It doesn't look like Matteo and Flopman will be fighting for any longer. That gap has opened up again. Matteo has a lap fresher tyre advantage. He can coast until the end of the race. I'm confident that he can do that and have absolutely no issue in dominating till the end here.
Joe Murphy then dispatches our championship leader, but Kai Pearson tries to find a way back past, but it's just not happening at turn 8. And Joe Murphy then, with great pace, fresher tyres does help, and he's now on his way to catch Liam Bowman ahead. Obviously, these positions will jump up another place when Shazoo Tom decides to pit. I wonder if Tom is waiting for a safety car. Maybe he heard us speaking earlier on and saying how common it is for a safety car, virtual or normal, to happen here at Singapore. It's not happened yet on lap 18 of 31, but we have lost Cameron Dowds, unfortunately unable to set a setup, and just wasn't able to be competitive in that at all. Enzo kind of out of position with an incident that happened off screen at turn 9, as Matteo is going faster and faster still.
There's been a safety car deployment every single year of the Singapore Grand Prix in real life, but none here yet tonight. Tom is into the pit lane. This is for his first pit stop of the race. It has come a little bit too late in my opinion. There's no front wing change, so he can see what he can do now on the freshest tyres of everybody as Ogween ticks over a lap on that fresh compound. It just shows if you leave it too late, sometimes the damage is done, and actually going down the middle was your best bet, as the top 4 have done. Well,
looking at it, Giron has had quite a good bit of luck going earlier. He went earlier than Kai Pearson. Kai Pearson's struggling a little bit in 8th place at the moment. He's been caught by Benza, who struggled for pace, as we see Gabor trying to find a way past Benza, and it's just not happening. Gabor, who started this race, I think, in 6th place, has now struggled a little bit, but once he gets past Benza, he could be someone to watch coming all the way through.
Yeah, it might well be. Can he get past Benza, who has caused a bit of a storm? Nothing has been his fault today, mind you. It's all been completely within the rules of the racing here. Gabor, again, looking for the exit. The rain lights flashing. Nothing to do with the RS, of course, in these conditions. Not able to close up by the time he gets to turn 14. Turn 16 will be his next best option. Liam Bowman within almost half a second of Jeroen as well. There's now going to be some battles starting to form between drivers on relatively different ages of tyres. Not something that could have been said earlier on in the race, and a theme of the F1 game whereby usually same strategies don't really produce that much good racing.
No, the wet weather people were doing a good, trying to race their own race at the same time of battling other people, but trying to get the upper hand, which hasn't always worked. It's showing some good racing, and it's great to see. Kai Pearson, definitely one who is struggling with the strategy, the way he went. Are we going to see him pit again, do you think?
I don't think anybody will pit again. I think the tyres should be able to go the distance. They would have been running the numbers in their head with percentage worn per lap. So I don't think anybody that doesn't need to will pit again. Side by side, Gabber and Benza. Benza trying to hold it around on the inside, I should say. Gabber around the outside. It's going to be a squeeze into that outside barrier. And then the outside of turn 10, Benza will have to hold it. George Russell-esque, trying not to clip any of the barriers there into turn 10. But Gabber fights his way through. He's now on to Kai Pearson, which would be, again, another significant move. One that Louis Valentin would like quite a lot. Kai made a big mistake there going into the hairpin of 13. And Gabber should be all over him.
Yeah, this is... wow. This is interesting. Kai Pearson really struggling at the moment. I wonder if he's just clipped a wing somewhere and has got wing damage, because he's dropping hand over fifth. Exactly the same as what Benza was. It's exactly the same as what Benza was, 10 laps ago. With the tyre difference. Well, there was no tyre difference. So interesting to see Kai Pearson struggling.
Back to Liam Bowman just quickly. He was forcing some pressure on Jeroen down the inside into turn 18. Jeroen defends the middle of the circuit down the start-finish straight. A short start-finish straight, but Liam Bowman should surely have him all over down Raffles Boulevard. He's stuck within 2 or 3 tenths in the first few corners of this lap. Now, let's see where the grip difference really is between tyres that are only 3 laps apart. Overtake engaged for Liam Bowman. Same goes here for F7R Jeroen. And Joe Murphy is on the back of both of them. Bowman's going around the outside. He almost clipped the wall there. And Jeroen forces him off the circuit. I believe he's entitled to a little bit more space there. He goes back up the inside. His rear end kicks out under braking. Similar sort of style as Kai Pearson's move earlier on. Joe Murphy hits the back of Liam Bowman as he gets through on the Williams. And again, the chaos is starting here in Singapore.
And to add to the chaos, Flopman has a 3-second time penalty, which means Louis Valentin, as things stand right now, will be second place in an Aston Martin 1-2. Liam Bowman then, under extreme pressure from Joe Murphy, since both of them dispatched Jeroen just a few moments ago. Kai Pearson been passed by Gabor and now got Benza for company, as Gabor trying to chase down Jeroen on, well, much fresher tyres, in comparison 6 laps fresher to be exact on Jeroen. This is going to be very interesting as they head on down into turn 16. Liam Bowman at the moment holding Murphy behind, but Joe Murphy looks like he's got the bit between his teeth.
Yeah, he does. Joe Murphy has been hitting Liam Bowman all the way through lap 21. And to start lap 22 almost immediately, he doesn't need to make any contact this time. He's straight up the inside at turn 1, sees the opportunity. Liam Bowman's poor exit out of the final corner. And again, another 2-lap difference in tyres between the two drivers was the difference, as Joe Murphy is back into 5th place, but that might be the maximum he can get from tonight.
Yeah, it was 12 seconds behind Sami Shemsi, who's really turned it back on a little bit. He's caught back to Louis Valentin. Let's go back up to this, because they are very, very close to Flopman now. Flopman is in a little bit, I don't want to say it, but he could have flopped it a little bit here, because he's fallen away from Matteo, and he's got that 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, he does. 3-second time penalty for Flopman. I thought he was firmly in control. Since the pit stops, it was around 3 seconds to Louis Valentin, who pit on the same lap. But I tell you what, it's been a good response. I said it just before we started the race tonight. I think if drivers don't start well, it's because they're not quite up to speed in these conditions. It's not particularly favourable practicing in the wet. You want to make the most of the more common conditions you're likely to face, which is, of course, the dry. But Louis Valentin and Sami Shemsi have equally found themselves in a position where they've learnt the trade here tonight. They're both about to have a run on Flopman. This only gives Matteo a bigger lead, by the way, as they're about to battle this one out. But I think Flopman, yeah, he's going to start to be getting very worried that he could have to settle for 4th here, despite a stellar race.
Kai Pearson is being overtaken by Benza, or has he? They're still side by side as they come down the start-finish straight. Kai Pearson's got the inside line into turn 1. And, oh goodness, a lot of elbows out And F7R Stefano goes, thank you very much. I'm taking that position. And Kai Pearson, there's still afters between the two of them.
Yeah, and Kai's going to do the same thing to Benza. Benza's in the wall. As soon as he was offline there, he had no choice but to understeer into that wall, really. Couldn't get it slowed down. Tim goes through on both of them. So again, Kai Pearson and Benza squabbling. That's a second car to have said thank you. Kai Pearson again showing Tim the runoff area, who goes up the inside. Again, trying not to kick his back end out. He's being squeezed into the wall. There's two Mercedes, both trying to turn into the Red Bull. Kai Pearson back up the inside of Tim. There's yet more contact. And again, front right to left rear. Benza's looking to go up the inside into turn 10. Kai Pearson had that firmly covered. But, oh my word, that was all getting a little bit silly.
Wow, that is, well, not what we've come to expect in this race so far. And Elbow's definitely out. And Stefano, F7R Stefano, out of all of this, has taken a very good thank you out of that, because he's 1.3 seconds in front of Tim, and he's catching up to his teammate just ahead on 4-lap fresher tyres. Gabor getting past Giron in all that as well. With all things said and done, let's go. I don't know if I want to leave this battle. I will do. Let's see what Louis Valentine and Sammy Shemsi do on Flopman as they come round Sector 1 for the 24th time, as they come through turn 5 and head down 6 and into 7. This camera angle always gets me because it looks like it stops raining, but it's not. It's just underneath a bridge.
Yeah, it always does. I mean, sometimes in Singapore it can rain and nothing. You can actually get the slicks on despite it still being raining, but that's not happened tonight because of the consistent weather forecast throughout with the light rain. Benza's retired in the pit lane. He's given up after that battle, so I don't know if he got any damage from it and just decided that enough was enough for that race. It has felt like a long one here tonight, and here comes Ogween on Kai Pearson, almost replicating the battle that they had on lap 1. It was Ogween up the inside at turn 9. This time Kai Pearson stays ahead. He's now out of the points. So Louis Valentine is a net second. It's a 37-point gap. That will shrink to, what, 18? Come the, 17? 19. I can't even count. 19 points come the end of this one.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Kai Pearson at all. And maybe he just bit the pit stop a bit too early. He's really struggled a little bit with, maybe overtaking Benza to begin with on that early part of the session, and starting 13th does not help at all. And Ogween definitely looking like he's going to dispatch the championship leader as they head down into turn 16. At the moment, Kai is giving as good as he can get, though.
Double switchback attempt here from Ogween, just making sure he gets to the apex later and set himself up for the exit. Could be a chance here, or a bit of a slide. That's compromised himself, but he's using the overtake. Kai Pearson defends to the inside. Ogween's handed the racing line, actually, so can go around the outside. He's going to have to go off the track. He won't keep the position because Kai Pearson, his backup is inside. It's all fair game so far, but again, Ogween looking to find the traction. 5-lap tyre difference in this battle, and again, it favours the driver who did leave it a little bit later, did the fairly confident strategy, but being able to get to the end on a set of tyres better than the car you're looking to overtake. Ogween, though, brakes really late. I'm very surprised he's managed to keep that on the track. Kai Pearson can't do much either with the lack of grip that he's got.
Wow. Kai Pearson really struggling, and unfortunate for him. Let's go back towards Sammy Shemsi, because Flopman has been passed by Louis Valentine. So it's Sammy's turn now. Sammy was very quick and keeping Louis Valentine honest, but now this is going to be interesting to see what Sammy Shemsi can do as they head down for the 25th time into turn 16, this new part of the newer part of the circuit here at Singapore. And you know what? It's had its moments, this race, hasn't it?
It has, and I think the weather, maybe if it was a bit more dynamic in the planned first start to this race before the restart, then maybe we could have seen some slicks with with an element of overcast cloud coming into it rather than the rain. But this has been quite enduring, hasn't it? It's always long here in Singapore with the 31 laps at around 1 minute 45, I'd say, in terms of the current lap times. But this has... It's longed, but it's been a good race. Now we've got an Aston Martin 1-2. We've got a reserve leading this race and looking to take a reserve victory for only the first time this season, I think. So it's one that's well been worth holding out for.
It's believed real F1 drivers, not the esports guys, just to point out that the drivers can lose up to 3 kilograms in fluid in a race. So it is a long one here at Singapore, and Sammy Shemsey may have picked up damage because he's dropping time to OP Flopman hand over fist.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, it might just be the case of we can't quite see it visually because that front wing looks completely fine to me, but you ask him and he's probably saying it's lime, it's yellow, it's damaged enough to the point where he is really starting to lose performance. I think we saw that in Monaco from Yossi. He got damage on the opening lap. He was losing 1 to 1.5 seconds a lap, but you couldn't actually see anything on the front wing to suggest that he had any noticeable performance deficits. So it might be the same again happening with Sammy Shemsey, the drive that ironically Yossi was penalised for a crash that day. He's not been involved in anything. Sammy Shemsey did, I think, have a brief moment by himself in Singapore. He's just skipped the first couple of corners, has Sammy Shemsey. No penalty for that. But Joe Murphy, looking at this gap, seeing it reduce now, lap after lap, 5 laps to go, 6.5 seconds to catch on a driver the same life of tyre as you. He'll be being told in his ear to go for it.
There's a retirement in the pit lane, and it's OP Stefano. He's had a miserable little race, unfortunately. It's not been ideal with the issues with the game earlier on for him, and then just not been up to pace, unfortunately, for the Ferrari man, and he's now retired from the session. 27 laps of 31 complete. Matteo is 10.7 seconds clear of his teammate for the night, OP Louis Valentine, and that is a great margin of victory for Matteo, if it stays that way.
And still, I load up my Twitter and still see that tweet. What is a polar bear doing here? He's more than welcome to stay here, is said polar bear, because an 11-second lead on his, I think, only first start of this season. Absolutely sensational going from Matteo. And he could slow it down by 3 seconds a lap and still have victory firmly in his sights. Those tyres are going to be comfortable to the end. Absolutely had the gap that he needed to make a pit stop without any threat of an undercut, because Flopman was around 4 seconds behind. It wasn't enough, and they both came out into traffic. Matteo was able to negotiate it more easily than Flopman, who will still hold on to the podium at this stage. Both cars behind, though, still drifting around Louis Valentine and Flopman. It is absolutely crazy what they're doing to these intermediate tyres at the moment. Somebody even saying Louis blew his tyres. I can't imagine Flopman's are in too good of a condition either. But either way, they might be going side by side for the final few laps, or they might just settle for their second and third.
This is very, very interesting between second and third place, man. Obviously, as things stand, Louis Valentine, even if Flopman does pass, it won't stay that way. And Flopman's just dropped off a little bit now. Maybe the tyres, he's just lost it a little bit more than Louis Valentine. It will be, at this moment in time, he will be still on that podium, which is good to see, but he would have loved to be in second instead of third place. Let's have another look at Sammy Shemsey, see if there's anything we can notice on the tyres. It's a very long shot, but I can't really see anything to indicate why he's just lost all his pace all of a sudden.
Yeah, again, I think that's 3 seconds gone on Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy is going to be shouted at now. Just push like hell, because P4 is there for the taking. Following up a P3 in Kota, Joe Murphy sits prior to this race, 10th in the championship, didn't score in the first 3 rounds, took a P5 in Las Vegas, took a P3 in Kota, could be about to go down the middle with a P2 finish, but that's only if he can find 3 seconds in the final 3 laps and go on to make the overtake. It's been a brilliant turnaround in the last 3 races. From the British driver. He's got the Canadian to catch. As I mentioned, still an 11-second lead from Matteo. Louis Valentin is cleared away from Flotman a little bit as well, so that sort of seals P2 for him for the time being. Further back, Quantum and Enzo. Again, Quantum, who had his best finish of the season in Kota, will be about to go his 3rd race as it stands without a point this season. The other 3 had scored him. It's been a bit of a high and low season for him. Just looking at the driver's form, it is also worth doing so. After 6 races, we're into the second half of the season and every point is valuable.
So, looking in the chat, it looks like poor Sami Shemsi has driven into the wall and collected a little bit of front wing damage. He's got damage, or got damage, let's just say. And at the moment, that means he is being caught rapidly by Joe Murphy. And Joe Murphy is desperate. He's gone a little bit skiddy there at turn 13 has Joe Murphy, but he's hurtling his way through. 2.1 seconds behind with just over 2 laps remaining. It's going to be tight, but Joe Murphy's going to do the best he can. Yeah,
Tails, I think that is a crash for him, unless he came into the pit lane, and in which case, no safety car either way. Stefano leaving the session. He was already out of this one. 5 drivers we've lost, none of them on track. And again, no virtual safety car or safety car in this one, which will join Bahrain and Britain. I think Kota as well. We might have gone without a virtual safety car, a full safety car at least in that one. It's pretty clean races. Again, we went without stewards' inquiries in Las Vegas. I think they'll be pretty hard to come by tonight. Maybe a few moments at the start of this race, which drivers will consider reporting. But overall, I've been fairly impressed tonight.
Yeah, it's been a few slight moments, elbows out, but nothing major, which is great to see. Obviously, you never want to see a destruction derby in an F1 car. Giron has done a fantastic job holding it in the top 10 on 19-lap-old tyres. Fair play to him with his strategy. He's decided to do something different. We're going to end this race with a absolutely epic battle between Sami Shemsi and Joe Murphy, because Joe Murphy is all over the back of the McLaren driver as they head through turn 13. And look at the lines taken by Joe Murphy to just try and get something a little bit cleaner than Sami Shemsi as they head down into turn 14. At the moment, Sami is defensive, and it's going to be very, very, very interesting last lap.
The good news is for Joe Murphy, he's arrived ahead of schedule. He's got a whole lap to get this move done now. The bad news is the ERS, just 3% for Joe Murphy and over 50% available for Sami Shemsi. That will give him the upper hand on the straights, and there are a few of them. Even though this is a tight, twisty, technical street circuit, it will have to be purely cornering and grip for Joe Murphy to get this move done on the final lap. As you can see, he's losing time on the start-finish straight. Again, down to that battery performance, but look how much time he gains into the first and second corners. Sami Shemsi unsettled over that sausage curb on the inside, trying to cover him off now at every opportunity, as Matteo leads us by 11 seconds with the fastest lap in his clutches as well. Could be a perfect scoring day for the Italian, but who gets fourth here, as I think we've got second and third decided.
This is going to be epic as they come down into turn 7. Sorry, I was maybe James Bond was there, but that would be 007. Joe Murphy nearly collects the back end. He's really struggling for grip now, and he's losing chances to overtake Sami Shemsi. We're about halfway through the lap now, and it's gonna he's lost a lot of chances to overtake. Hopping over the curb is the McLaren driver just to try and get a little bit extra, as the fastest lap now goes to Quantum. So Matteo struggled, will not hold that one. Look how wide Murphy takes that turn 13. He just can't get enough on it, and the ERS that's used by Sammy will save him as they come into turn 14. And I think he's gone for the move. There's contact between the two of them. That's not ideal. We didn't see Matteo cross the line, but we did see the battling two there, as we will see Louis Valentine cross the line. Sorry, Joe.
All right, that just shows how far ahead Matteo was in front. Joe Murphy has completely lost control of his car. The opportunity was there. He didn't take it. It's Louis Valentine on the podium for the third time this season as the championship leader goes pointless. Flopman takes P3 for a reserve appearance. It's Sammy Shemsi that held on for dear life to take P4. Joe Murphy in 5th. Liam Bowman only a 10th behind as he finished 6th ahead of Gabor. F7R Yaroon, who had the oldest tyres out there of anybody, takes a fantastic P8. Ogween in 9th and Tim rounds out the top 10.
Wow, thank you for covering me there after I lost my voice. But yeah, Matteo, what a drive this man has done. 11 seconds clear of Louis Valentine. And, well, I don't think he could have driven a better race. And that is exactly what he needed. And, well, the Polar Bears struck quite well. As I don't know if I've lost Joseph now. As we wait to see Enzo finish the race, he's struggled a little bit as back end stepping out everywhere, which is not ideal for him. And well, he's giving us a little bit on something on show for us. But yeah. Really struggling around it all as he spins there and does a few donuts for us. Yeah, Matteo, I don't think, Joseph, he could have done anything better tonight.
Well, he could have taken the fastest lap, and that was unfortunately stolen by Enzo, so he had to ruin it. He had to ruin the full 26 points, even though I don't think fastest lap points are given out anymore in WOR. I don't think I've seen added for a while, actually. Yeah. But either way, we'll pretend that he would have had the full 26 points. Technically, he still has the full 25. A sensational performance. He didn't need every lap. It could have been a Grand Chelem. If he had taken the fastest lap as well. But that is one of the most comfortable victories you will ever see in WOR, and I stand by that.
Yeah, we haven't seen, I don't want to say dominance, but, it was dominance, really. No one stood a chance against him. Flopman struggled, he tried, but it wasn't enough. We have had an absolute incredible display from him tonight. And, hopefully we get to speak to some of them, or some of the podium sitters, because it would be great to see how they handled that. But here is your final finishing positions. And it's Matteo, Louis Valentine and Flopman are your top three, with incredible pace from Matteo. Sammy Shemsi in 4th, holding off Murphy in the end, with Liam Bowman in 6th place. 7th to Gabor, 8th to Giron with incredible tyre preservation. 9th to Ogween and Tim in 10th place. 11th was to Stefano of F7R. Kai in 12th place, our championship leader, getting no points. 13th to Shizu Tom, 14th to Quantum, and 15th to Enzo there. Getting the fastest lap in the end as well, Enzo. Tails, Stefano from OP, Magician, Benza, your non-finishers tonight. And obviously Cameron as well, who unfortunately wasn't able to get much in the way done and dusted. Joseph, great race. A bit slow at times, but we got some good action out of it.
Yeah, it was. Again, like I said, it endured a little bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a welcome return back to WOR for the new year. And it gives us a championship fight to look forward to now. It is well and truly back on with Kai Pearson's second non-point scoring finish of the season.
Definitely. There's it's a little bit of a shock, but we saw it last season as well. Kai wasn't, I don't want to say chinks in the armour, but it wasn't a perfect season for him last season. He had a few non-point scoring or low point scoring like we've seen so far this season. We do have Matteo in the box. So what I will do is, I think he's over into the commentary booth with you now. So I'll hand over to you, Joseph.
Matteo, can you hear us? See if he's there first. That'd be a start. Oh, he's gone. He couldn't hear us. Right, we'll try that again in a minute. But I'm looking forward to speaking to him because I'm going to keep bringing up that tweet. I've just quote tweeted it saying he's won, by the way. You know, if that's just any consolation for anybody, maybe in tier 2, maybe just outside the pecking order for tier 1, going, ooh, I'm a little bit scared of making a reserve appearance. Oh my word, that was one of the best we've ever seen. So
definitely, I mean, maybe it was under the radar a little bit as well, because a lot of thoughts were on Cameron, and a lot of the conversations were around Cameron, and Matteo was kind of under the radar a little bit, but he's back in with us now, so hopefully he can hear us.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, all good.
Amazing. Well, first of all, congratulations, Matteo, because I have just said that was one of the best reserve appearances, and I think one of the most dominant performances we've ever seen. And to say that you put out that meme before you joined in tonight, you have absolutely cooked, my friend. What do you think?
To be honest, going into this race, I thought I would struggle to get into the top 10 in qualifying. But then, I did some qualies before the race, obviously, just to get into the rhythm. And yeah, times weren't looking too bad. And yeah, I just hooked a good lap together, which was enough for pole position. And then when I saw that the race was going to be on intermediates for all the distance, basically, I said, okay, I've got a really good chance. But yeah, to be honest, I didn't expect to win in this way.
Yeah, obviously, speak to us about the conditions, because it was intermediates throughout. I mean, some drivers went early in the pit stop, some drivers went later, but you just had the comfort to make sure you had a set of tyres that got you to the end of the race.
Yeah, in the initial stages of the race, I just tried to not crash, keep the lead, and, keep a nice gap to Flopman to not risk getting attacked. And then, yeah, I think Flopman made a mistake. His tires just weren't as good as mine. And yeah, I just extended my gap till the pit window, and that allowed me to go for a one-lap overcut, which in the end paid off well because the tires were just better than the rest of the entire grid, basically.
I think it's fair to say as well, you are more than welcome back in WOR Crossplay Tier 1. Are there any plans for any other tracks towards the back end of this season that you'll be making an appearance on?
To be honest, I don't know what the calendar is, but if I race in this tier another time, I'll just take the chance, because obviously it's crowded with a lot of good drivers, and it's just an honor for me to race in this category, So yeah, I'll definitely take any chance in the future.
Amazing, Matteo. Congratulations again. I'll pass it back to Gareth.
Yeah, one question from me, Matteo, is I mean, obviously
You're muted.
the meme.
You're muted. Can't hear
you. Wow, the stream could hear me, but you guys couldn't hear me. That is incredible. How have I managed that? Yeah, Matteo, one question from me, sorry, is obviously you put the meme up of not winning it, but or not having a chance, obviously, with the polar bear. But what was your thoughts going into the race? Did you think you could get points at least?
Yeah, like I said, quali is not really my best thing on this game. So in a category like this, I said if I get a top 10 is good, and then I see what I can do in the race. Yeah, I just did a great lap, and from then on, I knew I could win the race. But yeah, honestly, this race just went beyond my expectations. So I don't really know what to say. I'm just happy to have put on a good performance like this, and I just hope I can do more of these in the future.
Well, I'll echo Joseph's words and say definitely we would love to have you back when you're racing as solidly as that. It was definitely, incredible to see. And congratulations on your victory.
Thank you. And I want to do a shout out to my 2 engineers, Bus and Lifeboat, because they were just spot on today, as always. So much thanks to them.
Amazing. Nice one.
So I've just showed last season's calendar by accident, which I was trying to help. But then I've just realised you've just posted it all in the chat, Joseph. So, my bad on that one. I'll get the proper proper one up in a moment. But obviously we've spoken. It's Mexico next week. It's going to be different. Obviously, Mexico's a bit more of an open track, but with Kai, it's the dynamics have changed with Kai getting no points.
It has, and it puts him under pressure because I feel like he really wants this title, and I know I've spoken to him. He wants the rig, whatnot, the prize, but it's a big dent to his hopes, and I think same again next week, because we've seen that happen twice now. When he didn't score in Monaco, Louis Valentin was second. He didn't score tonight, Louis Valentin was second. It seems to be like every time he doesn't score, Louis Valentin has been there to capitalise, and if that happens again, there you go. The championship deficit is overturned.
Yeah, all it takes is one race, and that one race is tonight has flipped completely. I will now show I hope the proper calendar. There we go. We got Mexico next week in January, and then Portugal. Portimao is going to be a very, very interesting race. I believe it was also the first PSGL versus WOR race that we ever had there, was on that track as well. So definitely some history for WOR around Portimao. Belgium, Spa, historic track, definitely one that gets a lot of drivers interested as well. And then Austria, and then finishing the season at China, possibly for the last time on an F1 game for a while.
Well, it should be back on the official calendar this year, so it might well be updated. I don't know how China will look going into next year's game, but the Portugal, whether they'll bring that back, I don't know. It's tough to say what they're pick and choosing with features at the moment, but Belgium was brilliant last season, wasn't it, with the changeable conditions, and that's where the Kai and Sav championship fight really started to kick into life. Could be a championship deciding event, but we would have said that before tonight's round. I think we're talking about a really thrilling end to the season. We're in Austria and China from now on. Yeah,
we mentioned at the start of this race that Kai getting some points, winning the race could be season finish, but it's all of a sudden ended up being, Kai has no points. Louis Valentin got 18. The championship is wide open again.
It is. Can't wait.
Anyway, any final words for you before we close off, and then we'll speak about next week's race.
Yeah, I mean, again, full credit to everyone tonight, because there's nothing really to be crying about, in my opinion, in terms of stewarding. I think adapting to those sorts of conditions, usually you expect some dry period in a race, but 31 laps on pretty rapidly wearing intermediate tyres, a lot of drivers getting to the end, a lot of drivers having some good battles. Well done.
Fantastic. And there we have it. We've had 31 laps of Singapore in intermediate conditions. Qualifying was dominated by Matteo, but the talk before the qualifying was all about Cameron, but unfortunately things weren't to be for him. But it was another reserve driver in Matteo that was able to steal the headlines in the end. It's been a fantastic race here at Singapore. A little bit slow at times, but the action was all there, and that's all we want. We're back from Mexico next week for the sprint race and the full race. Same time, same place. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Catch you next time.